brothers and sisters. It is through the direct word, through a string of human experiences that have taken place for me this afternoon, that I'm here with absolutely no human agenda and no I intention to control this transmission or speak from any place other than the space of listening. The awareness is that the majority of us as human beings like to control or dictate our ability to receive the word. We control and dictate the ability to receive our source connection. We have an inability to yield and surrender to source moving through us, to guide us to exactly the right places, things, and information that would serve us to our highest, to guide us into the remembrance of what we already are. And that as we continue to control in our lack of ability to yield and open, we interpret life and that of all that life is from a lens of distortion. Life in itself is God. Life will be misunderstood until you see through the eyes and the lens of God or Source Creator. The interpretation of how you see another, how you show up in the world, what you create, the relationships that you participate in. These will all come from a place of fragmentation, being that of the separation point or the disconnect from the full flow of channel of life force or source creation energy. That will confuse you. The identity being that of the ego construct, which does not have the capacity to understand or understand source. The very aspect of the I being that tries to interpret life, spirituality, religion, science, philosophy, history, cannot truly make sense of the interconnection to source and the profound realization of life, inwardly or externally, because the interpretation of the separate mind cannot perceive from the lens that is needed and required for a holistic viewpoint and to receive profound awareness of what is really at play. And so as you continue to move through your journey and you continue to try and make sense of, cognitively become aware of, or dissect your interpretation of life, you can sometimes find yourself more confused, looping, or separate from the very aspect of remembrance that is desiring to be reconnected with. That you cannot solve a godly problem from the separate mind. The separate mind can only create that of more separation and the opportunity that continues to present itself into the connection and the listening to God. When you release the mind's interpretation that may be able to gather a specific amount of data points, but even in that, that is not your ego. Your ego is the sum of experiences of a previous and future trajectory of expression of energy. It's a narrative which is created into an energetic signature. These energetic signatures are compartmentalized, identified, and separated into parts to understand what you are experiencing. And yet, as you focus on the parts without the connection to source, you continue to loop the part without the additional puzzle pieces. So what is required is an awareness that as you receive insight, awareness, you are coming from your source, create a connection. As you receive knowings, remembrances, that is your authentic self. As you become more conscious, the more conscious you are, the more you can commune and connect to God. The more that you allow God to speak through you, the more that you are able to release the attachment that you have to the separation point. The separation point being that of the furthest disconnect you have to source. And if you see this in a multidimensional expression, it is dimensionally where your consciousness sits at its furthest point of dissension. The dissension point is the furthest point that you disconnect in separation from your light source. Having an awareness of your bandwidth and where you are functioning from allows you to have a cognitive human expression and interpretation of information. That means that you can guide yourself into a higher expression of receivership. Receiving means receiving. Conversation and communion with Source in union is not sought out, seeked, controlled, dictated, created through any forceful practice. It is simply yielding, opening, and allowing what you already are to be connected to and felt. Living from this space becomes more and more easeful when you release the identity constructs of that which you have many. Identity is not one, and ego death is not one. You have multiple identities and sub-identities and archetypal energies that you're attached to that keep you in severance from the I Am presence. Each of these holds an energy signature and a narrative, and each of these has a polarizing opposite. So you are never in one archetypal energy, but you are in its counterpart also. But as the majority of human beings have only one lens of focus and a limited perspective and ability to receive more than what they tune their focus and awareness to, they miss the additional information that is there in assistance to finding more unification. If you can start to become aware of the acknowledgement that you are not masculine nor feminine, and that you are unified in truth and full connection to God's source creator, you'll see that when you are in your masculine wounding, you have a simultaneous feminine wounding at play. And you can start to bring awareness to the polarization within your own internal being that keeps you in the separation point and the disconnect from union with God. If there is one construct to hold on to as a guiding light into true remembrance, it's choosing to see that in every point, at every time, in every moment, you have a choice to be connected to Source or disconnected. Unified or within separation. The simplicity of this is the mastery of this and the ability to let go of ego and soften into cosmic intelligence. As you practice stillness and knowing, and let go of the mind's disbelief, distrust, lack of faith, prejudice, judgment. This point of remembrance will eventually hit a tipping point where it is greater than that of the separation point. And this, my beloveds, is the point that will allow for a mass acceleration in the human evolution. Because as you tip into the point where you are more source guided than you are separate mind guided, you offer just through your presence the ability to remember and to open to God. Tatakiandiana Yatosha Tokoriana Neakiaria Tokuandiana.